Alright, so this is the first time me using this new software. Hopefully this works. Looks like there's a warm-up play, because no one else moved. So we'll ignore that. Score 0-0. So that's a good pass. So let's go back up to the top now that we know what happened. Alright, so we're gonna see like Wesley back here, and he's a little late to the ball and he doesn't hold his platform, so it moves, like, it doesn't become predictable and it's not passed high enough. Alright, so there we go. And then if you just go back, like Paul ends up in here and he should probably be another step or two inside. So then he has to go to his knees, but that's mainly a issue of the pass being too low. So as I've probably said quite a few times at this point, we want the pass to be, you know, 25 feet up in the air so that everyone has time to get set. We'll see the pass come out to Mike out here, and then we get a good defensive play, nice high pass to the middle of the court, and then our front row players will switch, and then there'll just be a hitting error. So there's a ball on. That's what that call was. I didn't see that earlier. So that's a replay. I think I've actually watched the first 10 seconds about 3 or 4 times, and this is the first time I caught it. Alright, here's the defensive play. Set goes to the outside, and so she's a little bit early and ends up stuck underneath the ball. Alright, so remember I talked about shuffle steps? So watch her feet, and she doesn't quite shuffle step, and she's just taking steps and stays very perpendicular to the net. And it's really hard to hit. And she's also lefty, and so the ball has to cross the plane of her body, which also makes it a harder hit. Nice serve, great pass, goes to the outside, and just ends up being a hitting error. Nothing too special about that, just a hitting error. Another serve, good call by the setter to call off another player. A little bit easier of a hit from the right side hitter there, being a lefty. It doesn't have to cross the plane of her body. But then this should be a defensive play that gets picked up pretty easily. Let's go back and figure it out. So what happens here? Alright, so we see what happens, right? There's a lack of communication between the two right side players, and then the setter ends up tracking that first ball over instead of releasing, and then it kind of falls apart. So this is a good opportunity to remember to call the ball, even though if it seems super obvious to you that it's your ball. Just a size mismatch against, you know, a really good player over there. So not much to do about that, I don't think. Alright, another pretty good pass. It's a good play down the line. It just, I think we haven't really practiced the overhand pass on a driven ball, but I think there's enough time in that play to maybe use her platform. Service error is not too interesting. That's a good serve. So let's take a look at how long it takes between the ball being hit and then the player taking a step. Alright? So it's a good chunk of time. That first step isn't really productive. So kind of being in that ready position is, you know, to make a good productive first step. I'm gonna pause it. And the other thing is, like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but knowing that he can hit that spot on the floor, I would probably inch in a little bit and make my adjustment right away and make him do something different on the very next serve, because he's been set up at that area now. It's like in basketball when you're taking free throws and you don't have to move your feet at all. You just kind of stand there and shoot free throws all day. Making them do a different shot from that same spot can kind of be a challenge, or just throw them off their rhythm a little bit. Alright, passes a little far off the net. Again, a little bit of lack of communication on the other side of the net between the right front players. Alright, so setter's out. No, that didn't go that far enough. Alright, so here's the pass. Good communication. Pass a little far off. Okay, right here, we're going to see the front right and front right back players not communicate really well. And also, our front row passing tends to be really short, even though we need the time to transition off the net to get a hit. So here we go. And then none of the front row players pinch in to get that, and none of the back row players step forward to get it, and then it kind of just drops. I think Mike could have gotten it if he took another step, but he was kind of reaching. Get a score call of 3-5. Alright, we set up our serve receive. Another service error. So this angle for the camera is a little hard to kind of scout the other side of the court because the viewing angle is so flat. Normally the camera is up higher, pointed down onto the court to get a little bit more depth. That's another hitting error. So on this near side, there's been 3 hitting errors, and the other team I think has 7 points now. So about half of their points are just errors from the near side on hitting. There we go. Good save by the setter. Our transitions. What goes on the other side of the net, but that ball doesn't come up? It's the same play as the previous one. He's tipped over the middle twice now. And I would just keep on doing it until the other team picks it up. Because they're not making that adjustment. A little bit of a quick serve. Gets replayed. Oh, our setters are lost. And then there's a little ball going through. Good pass. So there we go. So there's 2 things about that I noticed right away. So the setter is going to face toward the right side hitter over here, essentially facing this way, which is a dead giveaway that he's going to set that way. I talked about that during class. So if I were the middle blocker, I would probably inch over that way. The defender should shift a little bit and know that the hit is going to come from this area of the court. And then the second thing is that there's a little bit of miscommunication right there. There's a lack of communication where if Winston right here calls Zach off, we can just pop that ball up, everyone runs the transition. Winston will have a far way to go to get back out here to hit, but then that makes 2 players at least available. Whereas if Zach takes this ball, we got 2 players crowding the middle, and our setter's going to come crashing in, and there's no one on this side. The middle is probably too crowded to set, and then you kind of have to go to this left front player. So this is the 3rd time I've said that there's been a kind of lack of communication where we can play a little bit better volleyball if we're just calling that ball early and aggressively. So And it's, you know, when we break down video like this, it's much easier to see that versus, you know, the 1/10 of a second, 2/10 of a second that you have in a game to kind of decide. It just needs to become habit. That looked in. What is going on there? Alright, setter takes it. Set goes outside. And I think it's just a read error. I don't think the player realized that that was in. Pretty good pass. Back set. Nice pickup. Could have been higher. So this is a common hitting error that I see where we're trying to be too conservative with the hit and kind of a little too much finesse. It's easier to roll a ball in when your arm is fully extended, and you'll see it's just not fully extended, and then you have to kind of do a lot of maneuvering to try to get that ball into the right spot. So right here, so watch the right elbow. It's not going to be raised high enough. If it were fully extended, I think there's a much better chance of that going over. The score's 5-9 according to official scorekeeper. Alright, so that was a really slow footsteps to get to that first pass. Balls up. Alright. Pretty standard volleyball. Much better swing. Here we got a good rally. Player didn't transition out to hit. Nice pickup. I like the set distribution. It's going to different areas of the court. Just keep the ball in play. Playing pretty good defense. A little bit messy. As the rally goes on, you'll see the play break down. That's a solid hit. I actually really like that hit. Player was fully extended, kind of jumped through the ball. The main thing was that she hit the bottom of the ball rather than kind of behind the ball. And it's just really a matter of being comfortable hitting that back of that ball and trusting that you can put the right angles on it. But it was a good rally overall. Everyone played pretty solid defense. I want to take a look at that again. It feels really slow. Alright, so this ball is going to get served like 40 feet up in the air. And again, watch the player's feet and how long it takes for them to make that first move after the ball's been served, and how many steps it takes for them to kind of get to where the ball is going. When coaches say beat the ball to the spot and don't meet the ball, this is what they're talking about. So it's kind of this slow step, 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 and then kind of getting to the spot at the same time as the ball. And then you'll see the player swing his arms a little bit at the end, and it kind of sprays. So right there. And then passing it to the left front area is essentially no one's going to be there. It's a really hard place for anyone to get to. It's a little low of a pass. There's a ball on. I want to take a look at that first pass over. You'll see her platform isn't quite tilted enough to angle the ball coming in from here, and kind of want more of a angle like this to move that ball into this direction. Right, so you see it's kind of being passed forward, and so it'll kind of die out in here. rather than a much more aggressive angle to get it to the right side of the court. And that's okay. I mean, the thing I emphasized was we have a strong platform, and then we'll learn how to use that platform. Alright, not bad. Goes outside. Alright, that call for that set needs to be a lot earlier. So at this point, she's decided when. Let's go back a step. At this point, I think she's decided that she's going to take it, and she doesn't call the ball till it starts dropping way too late when the setter is coming in. So if she calls it off, he takes 1 or 2 more steps, but we can avoid that like near collusion. And then the other side is, again, a little messy. I mean, what it boils down to is just not passing the ball high enough. That's a trickler. I think the middle coming out is coming into that spot, and he could probably take it. The middle on the far side is late leaving the corner, and so then it becomes a much tougher ball. Right, so he doesn't leave. Right, I think he could have finished it and called the back row player off, because that's a long way to go. Again, that's a matter of tilting our platform so it's facing back into the court. If we leave it flat, then it kind of becomes a table and it'll bounce behind us. It's a good swing. It's a hard read. Tom knows that he can get that next time. So this looks like it's an overlap, but no one's going to call it. Just needs to be on the left of Maria here. Good pickup by the front row player. And that's just a great swing. Deep backcourt to area 1, which is the right back corner, is a really good spot. We'll assume that was an intentional hit. Pretty good first pass, just a little too much arm swing. I want to take a look at that hitting. It's okay, just tries to turn it a little too much. Ends up mishitting the ball a little bit, I think. Okay, so she's already served, and then the last time she served were both really short balls. The first one barely went over the net, and then the second one trickled over. So if I'm a passer, I remember that, and I kind of cheat up a little bit, because it's unlikely that she's going to serve a 60-foot ball that goes to the opposite end line. So let's see what happens. So if it went over, it would have been another short serve. Front right was ready for it though, so that's good. That looks like a nice higher pass. The setter, we're going to take a look at that set again. Oh, that player's off. Alright, so now we have a rally going on. Alright, let's break that down again. So there's a couple things. Alright, so watch the setter's hands. Remember how I said, like, you want your hands just to finish right above your ears? His ears are probably right there. You'll see his hands shoot way back here, and then it pushes the ball too far. and you'll see Peter have trouble picking that up because it's kind of sprayed out. Right, if he kind of finishes up above his ears a little bit more, he'll stay a little bit further inside for that play. Pete's a veteran player, he saves it, goes back out. Again, this is another time where the defense got sucked into the middle too far, and then the play will start breaking down. So their middle back has had to make that move twice now, on the very first serve of the game, and this one where he doesn't start low enough and then has to take his steps with his hips and platform really high and then drop underneath that ball. So he'll drop underneath that ball and try to scoop it up. So we'll see it again right here. Right, instead of being low and ready to move at this point, his positioning is really high. We talked about kind of having your hands either on your knees or kind of between your knees. His hands are at like mid-thigh level or waist level. So then he's not quite ready to move to that. It makes it a harder play. Alright, so we'll take a look at that hit again. So it's good transition. And then her hand is turned, so the ball will just follow where your hand is facing. So instead of having her palm facing the middle of the court somewhere, it's facing off to the sideline. So then the ball ends up slicing off and kind of going off court, which is fine if that's, if you're trying to hit that line, but I'm not sure that that was the intention. It's kind of better to keep your wrist strong and your palm facing toward the middle of the court, because then you have 30 feet worth of court in this direction to hit the ball, versus the 5 or 10 cutting it back, which is again why you see most people hit cross court. Alright, so the play breaks down pretty quick. So you're gonna see her left foot cross her midline, and then it kind of pushes her hips. Well, you essentially have to turn your hips and turn your shoulders, and then it makes it hard to create a platform to pass well. So right here is where you get into a lot of trouble. Had she stayed kind of more parallel to the net and shuffled, like during warm-up, when we do the warm-up where you're facing toward the side of the court and you're shuffling to the net and back, like if she did that, that's 1 or 2 steps, and it gives her good position to make a good pass to the right side of the court. Once you've turned your hips, it becomes really, really difficult. So we'll just take a look at it again. The ball ends up right here. It's 1.5 shuffle steps if you stay facing the net. Once you cross that foot over, it's essentially really, really hard to make this play. Right there is when it, well, it was over when the ball was out here and then the shuffle steps weren't made, but this is essentially a fatal position. The other thing is, there was a second touch, and then there were 3 people here kind of like not following. If you see, as a team, people that play together as a team, we'll have 1 or 2 people following and calling, saying I'm right here, so that they know, at least they have an idea of where they can locate the ball, instead of having to bump it back 30 feet to get it back to a teammate. Someone's following, gets into this area, and it's a 10 or 15 foot pass. Even if they put it straight up into the air 30 feet, this player that's following can get it and get it over and give a chance for defense to win the point. Alright, it's pretty good, not quite setting that platform. That's an indecisive set. Ended up between two players, and then a lot of confusion on the other side. Let's see. So it goes over, the setter takes it, someone else picks it up, but then no one kind of comes in and picks that third ball up. I think left back probably could have come in. She probably had the best approach to it. Pretty good pass. Needs to be a little bit higher. Okay, that's the second time that that player's overrun the ball on the hit. And so it might be just a read problem of not getting enough reps. Because it doesn't seem like she's locating it on her right shoulder. Oh, that's a rough pass. It's a pretty decent set. Good pickup. Alright. It's a free ball. Let's see what happens here. Again, another spot to area 1. That's that spot back there is 2 for 2. Bunch of ball on. Decent pass. Let's see what happens here. Left back did not look ready for that defensive play at all. Alright, right there. I don't know if you guys saw it. I saw it. She starts backing up. I'm gonna rewind it another 3 seconds and you're gonna see her in position, and then she backs away from the whole play. So here we know what's gonna happen, right? The ball's gonna come out here. Watch left back. She starts up a little bit more, and then she started backing away from the ball, and then it's over. Like it literally is those 1 or 2 steps that puts her 2 feet out of position, and then it's dead. Alright, so she's okay here. She's okay with her positioning here, but then she's going to drift back away from the net and a little to the right, and that puts her out of position in the quarter of a second that the ball takes to go from the hitter's hand to the spot where she was just standing. Right there. So she just kind of backs away from it, and then it's over. I think ideally you want to be stopped and ready to make a reactive move when the hitter is, you know, making contact. You want to just be stable, and wherever the ball goes, you only get one big push to the ball, maybe 1 step or something like that. But if you're still moving, your momentum is gonna not help you in that case. It's gonna keep on moving you in that direction. We're getting a little confused on rotation. Goes outside. We had no blockers up on that. What happened on that? Alright, so we're okay here. It's again a little too much standing for my preference. Want to kind of get into a lower stance, and so that our legs are loaded and ready to push either up and jump or go from side to side. And then I'm not sure what's going on with this right front blocker, but he doesn't go up. Okay, so he's watching volleyball, and then just kind of your feet will take you where your eyes are pointed, and so he's watching it here, and it kind of just end up wandering. And then for some reason he doesn't go up, which, I mean, that's the problem. He ends up at the net, and he ends up not taking away any court, right? So unless the ball trickles over the net and lands in his lap, he's not really taking away any court. There's something going on. Oh, we're super out of position. Oh, okay. The play was that, the penalty was that, I think Winston ended up on their court or something like that. Okay, and then this is in rotation. So we get a little confused here because, they need to advance the rotation, because they got the side out. Try. So this is a little bit of like one of those like teamwork things, right? Like we had a player do a ton of effort to kind of try to get that ball, but no one like really acknowledges it. Which again, like it doesn't, like, no one's gonna go home crying about it, but like it does help, you know, to see someone put out effort and recognize that. That's a good pass. Oh. Tried the one-arm bandit. Yeah, there was a little bit of crowding in here, so we want this player in the left back to be probably a little bit wider. And then Peter will reach out for the ball, but kind of hesitates a second because he sees a player coming into him. And we see that right there. Right, so this was a huge rotation problem. I noticed it when I was watching. You see that Vicky and Maria are opposite. They should be opposite of one another, but for some reason Maria is serving, and then so she's right back, and then Vicky is in right front. So if we just go back, right, so right here, this is out of position because, let's see, so Vicky is right front, and then Tom is right back, but then that means Maria is middle back, and she should be over here. So there's just a rotation issue, and then it causes a bunch of confusion later on. So we'll go forward again, and then we'll spend some time sorting this out. Right, so we could spend a bunch of time sorting this out, like trying to figure out what the right rotation is, but we'll just assume that we have the correct server, and then we'll just move everybody into the right spot. What happened was that Daniel and Maria somehow got position switched. And we could probably figure that out if we had people tracking the rotation. And then I think the other side of the net is also a little confused. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Alright, Debbie is super confused. She's not really sure where she's supposed to be. But yeah, now the other side is confused, and we go and try to figure this out. So the rotation is setter, hitter, middle, setter, hitter, middle. And then at some point someone gets switched and we don't catch it. But the other way is that assume the other side has is in the right position, and then the receiving team, no, so the team that serves first is going to be one rotation behind the receiving team, right? Because sorry, the dancing is really distracting my focus. Right, because we start with the setter in the right back for the serving team, and then when the receiving team makes the first side out, they'll rotate, and then we'll have a hitter serving first versus the team that served first. Their setter will still be in right back. Anyhow, we come in, we just get this sorted out, because it's probably more important that we play volleyball than we get the rotation perfectly correct. So I think what we ended up doing is that we put a setter in the right front, then we put a setter in the left back, and then right, so again, setter, hitter, which is Debbie, and then a middle. So this is right, and then we'll just pull Debbie back to help pass here, and then setter, hitter, middle, setter, hitter, middle. Alright, I think we're set. Let's play some volleyball. So that was a better, more aggressive angle. That's a good pass. Our middle on the far side is way too far and it's crowding our hitter. But it's okay, we'll play. Just a little hitting error into the net. I just want to go back and take a look at that first serve receive pass. You'll see Debbie's platform kind of slice the ball, right? So she has to rotate her body to get to the ball to go where she wants, rather than establishing her feet, and then tilting her platform kind of maybe at this angle. You'll see her platform be relatively flat and then kind of slice across horizontally to get the ball to where she wants it to go. Alright, so I'm just telling him that he needs to play more toward this middle part of the court. Go, go, go. Pretty good pass. Doesn't make the same hitting error. Again, that I didn't hear us call the ball for that non-setter taking the ball. So we have a pretty good setter here that's pretty fast and kind of reads the ball really well. And so I think he might need to call the ball a little bit more, or people, essentially whoever's going to set should call the ball. I mentioned that Steve is really, really good at it. Probably the best in our class, actually. Be like Steve. Call the ball. Don't take an elbow to the eye socket or anything silly. So let's take a look at that platform angle. Right, I mean essentially the ball just follows that platform angle, which is really kind of flat and shooty instead of nice and loopy.
I'm not really sure where that set is going. Alright, so the middle hitter is, if he's right-handed, is probably a little too far. And then the left front is definitely too far inside. So left front, this hitter should be way out here. And then he can shift over a little bit and still hit everything inside of this area. And then, so you can see if the set were actually to go outside here, essentially no one is standing there except me, but I can't play that ball. So we need this player to really transition here. That'll pull the middle hitter here. And then this ball kind of ends up between two players, but I really think if there was better separation, there wouldn't be the confusion. That's a tough set. It ends up between two players. But I think we should be able to keep that one in play. So a couple things. Even a pass that went to the right sideline, right, is still playable by the setter. Whereas we saw earlier that one of the passes went to the left sideline, and that essentially no one is there. So if you're overcorrecting, kind of overcorrect to the right. And then this just does another size mismatch on a set that's pretty tight against a veteran player with a ton of experience. That's a little too soft. A little too much slice. Against a pretty solid block. That's a tough play to make. That's probably out. So let's see. So that set is a very hard set. It's coming almost from behind the middle hitter. And I think a better play, a better decision would be, instead of back setting, which is a really tough set to start out with, you know, this like probably 15, 18 feet off of the net, kind of coming in behind the player, taking the quarter turn, so from here, square up and just face this hitter and just make this set to the outside. That way you can see where you're setting, and that player has an easier approach on that ball. Whereas this is kind of almost like a football over the shoulder catch, which is pretty tough to make. Okay, I feel like that setter on the far side is just not in position. Just a lot of running. So we're going to take a look at that. So it feels like he's too far over to the right. He should be probably 3 or 4 more feet toward the middle of the court right here. And so then has to travel an extra 8 feet because he's 4 feet too far, and then he has to make up that ground again, and then actually get to the ball still. So that's a little bit better in terms of positioning. It's still a little frantic. I really like to see the setter just go to the spot, you know, pause for 1 second, get a read on that ball, and then make that beeline. That's a great pass. Good cover. Alright, reset, play some defense. Smart hit, just went out. If I remember correctly, that didn't go out by much. I mean, it was enough that it was kind of obvious, but it didn't matter. No one was in like 6 feet of that ball. Hitter did not look ready or expect that. So there we go. Yeah. A little bit of a panic, and he knows it. Just checking how much game time we have left. We have about 4 minutes. This was one of the longer games for the night, so. That ball never went. Going back to the very first pass, so we're gonna go back to the top of the rally. So again, I think like it's just one of those things where you kind of get a good read on the ball a lot earlier. She takes a couple small steps instead of taking 1 or 2 big steps to get to the spot really early, and then taking the small steps to make kind of like the minor adjustments. It ends up being a bunch of small steps and then a big motion. Little step, and then kind of that big motion to get her platform on the ball. Right, and then again, I don't think that was a fully extended reach to that ball. But we can take a look at it. Yeah, she ends up. Yeah, it's just not quite there. It's hard to see at full speed. But kind of the dead giveaway is you'll see kind of a little crook in the elbow instead of just fully, you know, extended arm reaching through that ball. It's kind of like giving somebody a solid high five. That's trouble. Good pickup. I think I'm doing a score check because I kind of want to blow the whistle, but it's a pretty close game, so I'm going to let them play it out. That's a pretty big arm swing on the pass. And so there's all types of trouble when we see big arm swing movements. Scramble is on. Oh, we are not ready to hit. So that time definitely saw the bend in the elbow. Little communication. Good pickup out of the net. Good call. All right. Everyone should be scrambling to get to their defensive positions. And that's game. So overall, the opening points, just a little bit of communication, and I think then we settle down a little bit, getting used to playing with each other, and then it looks pretty good. Just a little bit more preparedness in terms of kind of being ready and anticipating what's going to happen next. A couple plays where our hitters aren't ready to hit, or but I think I rewinded half a dozen times on that first ball serve receive where our platform isn't quite set up correctly, so we just need to keep on working on that.